Mr. President, I'm James Comey. Now that James Comey has been indicted, who is the next person on your list in this retribution?
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats. Because Comey essentially he's worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey. But no, there'll be others. Look, that's my opinion. They weaponized the Justice Department like nobody in history. What they've done is terrible. And so I hope there are others, because you can't let this happen to a country.
Yeah, but you are making this happen to the country because you are clearly dispatching the DOJ against your political opponents in the same way that you're dispatching the FCC against your critics in the media. And in both of those cases, he has given not only the marching orders, but the targets. In fact, the list of targets. And when we're talking, like we had Stephen Colbert, and then it was going to be Kimmel after that. It was very clear, and that's what they did. And here on the political side, Comey, he told, we know, because he accidentally publicly DM'd the head of the DOJ. He said, I want you to go after Comey. So they went after Comey. They even went after Comey in the exact way that he said. Fire the guy who said there's no case and put Lindsey Halligan in charge. That's what they did. And then he said, I want you to go after Letitia James. And oh, what do you know? That's what they did. And she has now been indicted as well on seemingly around as shaky ground as James Comey was. And so she has now been indicted in a similar sort of way as they were going after Lisa Cook. They thought that they could find some sort of very specific paperwork thing around a mortgage to take her down, and good luck to you. But the indictment states that Letitia James bought a piece of property in Virginia as a secondary residence, but ended up renting it out to a family of 3. That means, according to the indicting document, that she was able to obtain more favorable loan terms, saving around $19,000 over the life of the loan. She is charged on 2 counts, bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution. The US attorney who secured the indictment, that is Lindsey Halligan, again, someone who I believe does insurance law, but is operating as, look, I'm gonna say a prosecutor in this case, but she's operating as a personal lawyer for Donald Trump. We all understand that. Said that the charges represented, quote, intentional criminal acts and tremendous breaches of the public's trust. So look, I believe that this is BS, but let's pretend for a second that it's not BS and that she actually did this. So she said that this is gonna be a second personal residence, and instead she rented it out. And because of that, she made about $19,000. That is a tremendous breach of the public's trust. I'm not, look, if she broke the law, then sure, put her in jail or whatever. I'm not sure why anyone in America would care about what she did. Now, maybe you just care about the law. Okay, fine. Then you could say that she should be in jail. But the idea that like the public's trust was breached tremendously, I'm not really sure about that. That seems a little bit strange. She is facing, by the way, up to 60 years in prison for that, if both of those counts go through, along with a $1 million fine, which seems like an excessive fine considering that they're alleging that she might have made $19,000. I feel like they didn't go after like, the corporations that like drugged America, caused all those overdoses and everything. They got a more lenient sentence compared to the actual crime that was being committed. But in any event, he got Lindsey Halligan as the prosecutor. And once again, like with James Comey, you had the actual people who were already looking into it said, there's not a case. There's just nothing to go on. And so they ignored that. And Lindsey Halligan, who was chosen purely because they're a loyalist for Donald Trump, decided to go forward with it. And I guess they didn't get all of the indictments that they wanted, and the ones that they did, it wasn't even unanimous, and that is actually a bad sign considering how easy it is to get these indictments. And so we'll see how the actual case goes forward. That said, we have Letitia James responding to the indictment here.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. And so today, I'm not fearful, I'm fearless.
Brett, you were saying right there that was annoying. You're talking about the editing inside of the statement.
No, she's just like, this is annoying. This whole thing's annoying. Like, she's annoying. Trump's annoying.
Okay,
That's not like I hate
I
when people are like,
she's
this
more
is a
annoyed
powerful
than you,
statement
but
that I am making.
okay, sure.
I'll be with you in a second with the next word right now.
Okay.
Whatever. I'm just saying, like, on the surface,
aside,
I have to be honest about my reaction to that statement. It's annoying.
I have never felt like I needed to. Why should you be? No. Yes. Okay. She's being like that. And look, Comey's statement had a similar sort of tone. That said, the federal government is trying to lock them up for decades, so they're probably a bit peeved about that. But what do you make of the? No, you don't think that she is? I'm not talking.
No, she didn't look peeved. Did that look peeved? If I describe peeved, like that's what I'm trying to get through to politicians and public servants on the left. Authenticity. It doesn't make her wrong. I'm on her side in this, but as just like a media person who produces stuff, I'm like, I need to see a person in there. Mm-hmm. You don't even look like you're not. They're just like, oh my God, wake me up when you're done so I can make my video actually trying to like prove that this guy's annoying.
Okay, well, that aside, let's now talk about the fact that yet another of the people prominently placed on Donald Trump's enemies list is being pursued by the federal government, despite the fact that all the actual career professionals say that there's no case here. And that it is likely that both of these either won't even make it to trial, or if they do, the government will lose. And yet we all know going into it a year or two in advance that it doesn't necessarily matter if there's no case, because Donald Trump will just claim a deep state. It was even if it was even if a judge decides not to go forward to trial, and it's a judge that he put there, he'll say, they're worse than a Democrat or whatever. I just feel like overall we're in a pretty crappy position as a country that this is now becoming so routine, like that it literally happens every month now. What do you think about the substance?
About the substance of the thing. So he is very obviously mad at her because she got him convicted of felony stuff for doing felony things, okay? Mm-hmm. She also previously has pointed out, so as Trump right now is saying like, she made $19,000 in money. First of all, he wouldn't consider that a lot of money. He can't. If he starts to consider that a lot of money, then Donald Trump now needs to admit that he's poor. Right? Like there's your logic there. Also, didn't pay taxes on $19,000 is different. Is like even less liability because it's a proportion of that she would have to pay. So it's even a smaller amount. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's charity itself defrauded, sure, not taxpayers, but Army Emergency Relief, the Children's Aid Society, Meals on Wheels.
Aww.
Give an Hour, Martha's Table, the United Negro College Fund, the United Way of National Capital Area, and he defrauded the US Holocaust Memorial Museum. So if he's trying to shine a light on her for whatever reason, the bigger light needs to go on him because he defrauded the United Negro College Fund and the Children's Aid Society and the Army Emergency Relief.
That is a devastating list, Brett. But I would say, while you're giving Tish James tips on like persuasion and all that, I'm gonna give you a tip. All that stuff about the Holocaust Museum and everything, some of his followers might be like, oh dear God. But when you point out that he also defrauded the NAACP, was it?
The United Negro College.
Oh, no, it was the college fund. Yeah, I think you get them back on board for him. So gotcha. maybe leave that one out because I don't think that's gonna hurt his base. But anyway, he's a fraud. And again, so there was a moment, and we'll end on this because we're way over. Who's the dude who delivers the ChatGPT right-wing talking points to CNN? Scott Jennings, where he just says the obvious thing that you could put literally any right-winger to say, and I don't know why they pay him a salary. He went up and he was like, yeah, she should go down for this. And I think it's Abby Phillips hosts that. She's like, but this, it kind of seems like, if I'm saying that this seems like a victimless crime, but you were saying that Trump's fraud was a victimless crime, like, don't you kind of have to have the same standard for both? And he refused to have the same standard for both. I will have the same standard. If she actually did this, then she should be fine. I don't think she should go to jail for 60 years, but fine, put her in jail. The issue is that I think Trump did it, and I don't think that she did it, which is a pretty significant difference.
Yeah. And Trump is a well-known real estate scammer. Like he's gonna, what is he gonna indict Oscar the Grouch because Sesame Street pointed out all of his real estate scams? Come on. But the worst part about this, just the last thing I'll say is, Trump is just trying to get people on paper doing bad stuff so that then he can launch the next part of his offensive. He's trying to classify Antifa as a terrorist organization on paper so he can launch the offensive to just start, it seems, militarizing, imprisoning, and like eventually, I would assume, since the way he operates is gunning down people in the street who he has now said, no, they're not just wearing a dinosaur outfit, they're Antifa, which is funded by, which is as much as they've already said, like, Al Qaeda.
Yeah, 100%.